Marcus Aurelius failed. The greatest philosopher king in Roman history. The man whose private journal has guided millions of people for 2,000 years. Failed. Repeatedly, publicly, and painfully. He failed to stop the plague that killed millions of his citizens. He failed to prevent the betrayal of people he trusted completely. He failed as a father, watching children die before him. He failed militarily in campaigns that cost thousands of lives, and every single time he wrote about it, honestly, without excuses, without self-pity, because Marcus Aurelius had a philosophy of failure so powerful that every setback he experienced made him more capable, more disciplined, and more unbreakable than he was before. Today, we unlock that philosophy and show you exactly how to turn every failure in your training into the most powerful fuel you have ever used. Welcome back to Stoic Athlete, where ancient wisdom meets modern fitness. Failure is the most misunderstood experience in athletic training. Modern fitness culture tells you to avoid failure, to always succeed, to post your victories and hide your defeats, to project confidence even when your training is falling apart. Marcus Aurelius did the opposite. He examined his failures with extraordinary honesty. He wrote about them in painful detail. He used them as the primary material for his philosophical practice. And the result was 19 years of the most consistent, most disciplined, most philosophically grounded leadership in Roman history. Today, we break down his 5 principles for handling failure and show you exactly how to apply each one to your training right now. Marcus Aurelius wrote one of the most powerful sentences about failure ever recorded. He said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This single sentence contains the entire Stoic philosophy of failure. The failed lift is an outside event. The missed race time is an outside event. The plateau that refuses to break is an outside event. The injury that set you back 3 months is an outside event. None of these things are you. None of them define your capacity. None of them tell the truth about your potential. They are simply events that happened outside of your identity, outside of your character, outside of the part of you that Marcus Aurelius would say actually matters. Most athletes make a catastrophic error when failure arrives. So they merge their identity with the failure. The missed lift becomes, "I am weak." The slow race time becomes, "I am not an athlete." The bad month of training becomes, "I will never reach my goal." Marcus Aurelius spent 19 years practicing the discipline of separating external events from internal identity. He failed militarily, but he did not become a failed emperor. He lost children, but he did not become a broken man. He faced betrayal, but he did not become a suspicious, closed person. He remained, through every failure, the philosopher he had committed to being. For the Stoic athlete, the first principle of failure is this: your failure is not your identity. It is an event. It happened. It is already in the past, and the past has zero power over who you choose to be in this present moment. Separate yourself from the failure completely. Then ask, what does this event teach me about what to do differently? That question belongs to you. The failure does not. Marcus Aurelius wrote the sentence that Ryan Holiday built an entire philosophy around. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Applied to failure, this is revolutionary. Every failure in your training is not blocking your path. It is the path. It is showing you exactly where your weakness lives, and therefore exactly where your greatest opportunity for growth exists. The lift you keep failing tells you precisely which muscle, group, which technique element, which mobility restriction is limiting your progress. It is a diagnostic tool more accurate than any fitness test ever designed. The race time that refuses to improve tells you exactly which energy system, which training variable, which recovery element needs attention. It is a roadmap to your next breakthrough disguised as a disappointment. The training plateau that has lasted 3 months is telling you something has to change. Your volume, your intensity, your nutrition, your sleep, your programming. It is not a dead end. It is a signpost pointing directly at what needs to happen next. Marcus Aurelius faced military failures and used them to redesign his strategy. He faced personal failures and used them to deepen his philosophy. He faced losses and used them to clarify what truly mattered. For the Stoic athlete, every failure is a question. What is this failure showing me about where I need to grow? Answer that question honestly. Then train directly into the answer. The obstacle reveals the path. Always. Without exception. Here is something that surprises almost everyone who reads Meditations for the first time. Marcus Aurelius was remarkably gentle with himself after failure, not soft, not excusing, but genuinely compassionate. He wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." But he also wrote something that completely reframes what strict means. He said, "Accept the things to which fate binds you, and love the people with whom fate brings you together, and do so with all your heart." He was talking about acceptance, not passive resignation, but active, loving acceptance of what is real. After failure, Marcus Aurelius did not punish himself. He did not spiral into self-criticism. He did not engage in the kind of harsh internal dialogue that most athletes torture themselves with after a bad session. He accepted what happened. He examined it honestly. He extracted the lesson, and then he moved forward with the same philosophical commitment he had brought to every previous day. Modern sports psychology calls this self-compassion, and the research is overwhelming. Athletes who respond to failure with self-compassion recover faster, learn more effectively, and perform at higher levels than athletes who respond to failure with harsh self-criticism. Marcus Aurelius was practicing evidence-based sports psychology, 2,000 years before the evidence existed. For the Stoic athlete, self-compassion after failure means three specific things. First, acknowledge the failure without judgment. It happened. That is all. Second, extract the lesson without drama. What does this teach me? One specific answer. Third, recommit to your standard without punishment. Tomorrow I will show up. That is enough. Be strict with your standard. Be compassionate with yourself when you fall short of it. Marcus Aurelius did both simultaneously for 19 years. Marcus Aurelius wrote one of the most practically powerful sentences in all of Meditations. He said, "When you wake up in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Then make that day count." Every morning was a new beginning, completely fresh, completely separate from every previous failure. This was not naive positivity. Marcus Aurelius was one of the most clear-eyed realists in history. He knew exactly how badly yesterday had gone. He remembered every failure with complete clarity. But he also understood something that most athletes never grasp. Yesterday's failure has zero jurisdiction over today's training. None. Not one rep, not 1 second of effort, not one moment of today belongs to yesterday's failure. The Roman military suffered devastating losses in some campaigns, and the next morning, Marcus Aurelius got up, assessed the situation with complete clarity, and began again, not from the position he wished he was in, from the position he was actually in. This is the Stoic practice of beginning again, and it is one of the most powerful tools available to any athlete who has experienced failure. For the Stoic athlete, beginning again means one specific practice. Every training session, regardless of what happened in the previous session, begins completely fresh. You do not carry yesterday's failure into today's warm-up. You do not let last week's bad month infect this week's first session. You assess where you actually are. You begin from there. You give today's session everything you have, completely independent of everything that came before. Marcus Aurelius began again every single morning for 19 years. Through plague, war, loss, and failure that would have ended lesser men. Your next training session is a new morning. Begin again. Here is the most important thing Marcus Aurelius ever understood about failure. He needed it, not wanted. Needed. The way a philosopher needs difficult questions. The way a warrior needs difficult opponents. The way an athlete needs difficult training. He wrote, "The impediment to action advances action." And he meant this literally. Without impediment, without failure, resistance, and setback, there is no advancement of action. There is no growth. There is no development of the philosophical and physical qualities that define excellence. Meditations itself is the product of failure. Every entry where Marcus Aurelius reminds himself of his Stoic principles, every page where he talks himself back to his philosophy, exists because he had failed to live up to that philosophy the day before. The greatest document of Stoic wisdom in human history was written by a man reminding himself, after failure, of who he was trying to be. For the Stoic athlete, failure is not the opposite of your training. It is an essential component of it. The training sessions that go perfectly teach you very little. The training sessions that fall apart completely teach you everything. They teach you where your weaknesses live. They teach you how your mind responds under pressure. They teach you whether your commitment is real or conditional. They teach you what your body actually needs versus what you assumed it needed. Seek failure deliberately in your training. Not reckless failure, but the productive failure of attempting things that are genuinely beyond your current capacity. Because Marcus Aurelius understood, and 2,000 years of human experience confirms, that the person who has never failed has never truly trained, and the person who has failed examined it honestly and begun again. That person is building something that cannot be broken. Marcus Aurelius failed repeatedly, painfully, publicly, and he became the greatest philosopher king in human history, not despite his failures, because of what he did with them. Here are his 5 principles for turning every failure into strength. 1. Failure is not your identity. It is an event that happened outside of you. Separate yourself from it completely. Then ask what it teaches. 2. The obstacle reveals the path. Every failure is a diagnostic tool pointing directly at your greatest opportunity for growth. Use it. 3. Practice self-compassion. Acknowledge without judgment. Extract the lesson without drama. Recommit without punishment. Strict with your standard. Compassionate with yourself. 4. Begin again. Every training session is a new morning. Yesterday's failure has zero jurisdiction over today's effort. Assess where you actually are. Begin from there. 5. Need your failures. They are not interrupting your training. They are your training. The sessions that fall apart teach you everything. The perfect sessions cannot. Marcus Aurelius wrote Meditations because he kept failing to live up to his own philosophy. And in writing about those failures, he produced one of the greatest documents of human wisdom ever created. Your training failures are your meditations. Write them, examine them, learn from them, begin again. This is Stoic Athlete. Train your body, master your mind. Begin again. Subscribe for a new video every week. Marcus Aurelius is waiting.